Welcome to Ordinary to Badass, episode number 335. Now, if you listened to the last episode, you heard me bear it all and share my biggest failures or my biggest failure. It was when one part related to work. So go back, give that a listen. But you know what? If you're like, Marie, I don't need to hear about you or your failures, cool. Then you're on the right episode, because this episode, you're going to hear what I did to turn those failures around. And those are things that you can implement in your life if you're feeling like you're struggling with something. Maybe it's just a perspective switch, right? Things that I never would have thought about then. And it was a miracle that they happened, or that somehow I pushed through it, because I was in that negative space for quite a while. So listen to this episode. You're going to hear the flip sides, ways to get through failure, which I think is essential. We have to move through failure and not take it so dang personal. Well, we don't have to. You can keep it if you want, keep being upset about it, but it doesn't help you. It just brings you down. Before we get to the episode, I want to say, ordinarytobadass.com/coaching. Have you signed up for a group coaching call yet? You want to make sure, get in on that. So epic. Sometimes we get stuck in our way, kind of like the failures I was talking about. It would have sped my time up if I had gotten interested in having a coach. Eventually I did, but it took a little bit of work. So ordinarytobadass.com/coaching. If you want to speed up the process and get out of the funk or push past some of your failures, find a way to reframe it. Or maybe it's just putting things into perspective, because so often we think things in our head and it's just not true. We're only seeing one side of the coin. So sign up for a group coaching call, ordinarytobadass.com/coaching.
Be confident, be bold, be authentic, but don't forget to take action. This is Ordinary to Badass, where our stories empower women to step into the spotlight of their own lives and pursue what they're truly passionate about. It's time to step into the arena and become more than just extraordinary. It's time to become a badass with your host, Marie Sonneman.
Welcome to Ordinary to Badass. Whether you're ordinary or badass, I'm so glad you're here. Today, let's talk all about failure and ways that we can push past it. In the last episode, I talked about my fear of talking on the radio. That can be intimidating, just like talking on this podcast could be. So I wish I had a quick, easy answer for you on this, and just a simple way to get out of your head and onto the radio. And listen, if it doesn't have to be a radio for you, or it doesn't have to be a podcast or social media for that matter. There are plenty of ways where we have to use our voice and we feel so intimidated. So something you could do is just practice. Find little easy ways that you can practice. If you're not speaking up at all, if you're not saying things that you wish you had the courage to say, just find teeny tiny ways that you can start speaking up. It doesn't have to be a change overnight. So take the small steps and just practice. They say practice makes perfect. I know this isn't the answer you want to hear, especially not for number one, but really getting in and getting the practice in, eventually it becomes like nothing, because you do it so many times. You just got to get those reps in. So that's the answer. My first tip is to just get your practice in. Okay. Number two, I had talked about on the last episode that I had problems shooting or operating handgun and a rifle. It just felt out of my league, or just uncomfortable, because I had never done it before. So when you're doing something and you feel like you're out of your league and you've never done it before, here are some things that worked for me that I think will work for you too. First, I visualized it, and it seemed a little woo-woo, a little out there, but I visualized myself out there shooting and shooting perfectly. And I think what helps is, like, instead of like being negative and picturing the worst outcome, you're picturing yourself succeeding. And it's amazing how much just that little tweak really can help. So picture success, picture yourself like having the best possible outcome. And you would be amazed at how you improve, the progress that you make just because you pictured the best possible outcome. So do that, even if it's only for 5 minutes, 5 minutes a day, 5 minutes, 2 days before the event that's coming up, whatever you have to do, just picture yourself being successful. What is the best possible outcome? Picture that best possible outcome, shut your eyes a little bit and just visualize it happening. Think of what you see, what you hear, what you smell, how you're going to feel after you do so good at that thing. It could be public speaking. It could be anything. It doesn't have to be shooting a firearm, right? That's probably a little extreme, but just visualize your success. And then another thing, practice. Practice, practice, practice. I kind of said that in number 1, but that was also true here. I started to realize, wait, I'm just going to have to work hard. I'm going to have to work hard, practice on my own time, figure this out. And what does it matter? Even if I have to practice way more than other people, who cares? At least I'll go out there and I'll feel comfortable and confident. So if putting in the extra work makes you feel comfortable and confident, do it. But don't beat yourself up for putting in the extra work. Like, give yourself a kudos, because a lot of people aren't willing to put in the extra effort. So practice, give it the extra effort, hire help if you need, have somebody train you on that topic of help. Accept help. That is something I have struggled with, and often I would deny help when it was offered to me. It only makes your situation worse. Who around you can help you? Is there somebody that's gone before you? Is there a mentor? Is there somebody who's already done it before, right? Somebody around you can probably help you, or you can just hire help. I know not everybody can, but if there's an option, that's something you might look at. Or maybe there's a group like meetup.com, right? Maybe there's a group of people who are learning, or people of all different levels. A lot of times the things on meetup.com are free. Not always, but a lot of times. So what group can you find that can help you? There are different options out there. Don't be like me and have too big an ego and think that you have to figure it out yourself, or you have to do everything just perfect, or it's not right and it'll never be acceptable. What does that get you? Really, how does that move you forward? So ask for help. Okay. Number 3 is when you second guess every decision that you make. I used to do it, heard about it in the last episode, but that can be hard. Now here, I am going to take a tip from Haley Whitehead. She is an engineer and she's a total badass. And she said, if you want to stop making failure personal, Haley Whitehead said to ask yourself, how can I prepare better for next time? And then, what aspects of this do I not understand? And number 3, she would ask, who can help me with this? So do that. Go through that process so that you don't take failure personal. You don't have to second guess every decision you make. Something else that helps is, I heard Jack Canfield say, act as if. Act as if you're making the best decision that you know at the time. Act as if you're making the right decision. Even if it's not right, you might later find out that it wasn't the right decision, or it could have been different, it could have been better. Okay, you made the decision based on the information you had at the time, and that has to be good enough. So act as if. Okay, number 4, comparison. When you compare yourself to other people, what can you do? How can you get out of it? What if you could see it as a strength? What if it didn't have to mean something bad about you? If you've ever seen somebody who's done something differently and then like appreciate it and be like, oh yeah, where have you been all my life? Oh, example, for me, that was Atomic Habits. I couldn't think of the name. Atomic Habits is such a good stinking book, and it's building habits. Instead of going for some huge goal, you build habits. And those habits can set you up for the big goal, but it's about the day in and day out and just the little things you have to do to build habits, right? And when I heard that book, because I listened to it on Audible, I was like, where have you been all my life? Like, I just loved it. I thought it was so good, but it was because it was different. At the time, it was something I hadn't heard before. And so when we're going into this comparison and we want to be like other people, wait, what do you have? You have something good too. And if you're worried that what you have is different, that could be a good thing. That could be the exact thing that the world needs. Something different. We need to hear things a different way. I don't know. If I had never heard Atomic Habits, that would be pretty disappointing. I say that because I know what I know now, but sometimes those different ways of reframing things, different ways of doing things makes it so much easier. And then it's also like people have different strengths and you need some diversity in there. If everybody's working based off the same strengths, how boring is that? So instead of looking at comparison as a bad thing, look at it like, okay, they're different from me. That's good. And also, you know what? If they have it, that means I could have it. It's for me too. So it's all about perspective and how we decide to look at things. Number 5, what happens when you feel like it takes you longer to learn things? Here's the thing. Maybe it does take you longer to learn things. That's certainly been the case for most of my life. And that can be so frustrating. But here's what I know. Often when it takes you longer to learn things, you appreciate it so much more. The things that I have had to work so hard for, then I really come to appreciate it. Like, oh yeah, I have some grit. I have tenacity. I pushed through that and it was not easy. Maybe it's easy for other people, but it's not easy for me, but I pushed through it. I did it anyway. I did not give up. Consider looking at it from that perspective. At the perspective of the strength you have for getting through it, for going anyway, even though it was hard. Other people would have given up in a heartbeat, but not you. You're a badass. You pushed through the hard things. So when you're feeling upset, when you're feeling down, and you're like, oh my gosh, this takes me so much longer than everybody else. Like reframe, be like, oh my gosh, I am going to appreciate this so much more than anybody else. I'm going to enjoy this so much more than anybody else because I put in the work. So keep putting in the work, even if it takes you longer than everybody else. You are a badass. And I want to know, I want to hear from you when you push through that thing, because that is going to be something you can look back on and feel so epic. Do you ever feel like when you make a mistake, you are in the spotlight? All eyes are on you. Everybody's watching you make that mistake. It freaking sucks. Nobody likes to make mistakes. But here's the cool thing about mistakes. Once you make it, you're probably not going to make it again. I don't know about you, but every time I've made a mistake, it's stuck with me. And so I really am not likely to make it again because I'm like, oh my gosh, I remember that from last time. So you're much more likely to remember it once you've made a mistake, and it's going to be better the next time. Get your mistakes out of the way. And let me just say, you are not a mess because you made a mistake. You are simply human. Don't define yourself by the mistakes that you've made. We all make mistakes. It's just a matter of not getting bogged down by them. So make the mistakes, forget about it as quickly as you can, or remember it to tweak it for next time. Like, what can I learn from this? Go back to what Haley Whitehead talked about, right? That we talked about earlier in this episode. What can I learn from this? How can I avoid making this mistake in the future? Who can I ask for help? It's okay to make mistakes. That doesn't make you any less of a badass. Okay, number 7, when you find yourself relying on other people and you are having a tough time making decisions, what do you do? First, we already talked about it earlier. Act as if. Act as if you knew the decision. Act as if you had a choice to make, as if you knew what you wanted, and just go with it. A lot of times that's what we have to do. We just have to start being decisive and act as if we know an answer, and then it becomes more and more comfortable to us. So act as if. Also, realize when you're new and you're learning something, you might have to rely on other people a little bit. You don't know everything. You don't have necessarily the experience to lean back on when you're new at something. So let that be okay, to ask questions, to be a learner. It's okay to learn and to not know the answers to everything. So just let that be okay. And then also follow your intuition. We often have gut instincts about things, and they're usually right. So follow your intuition. Maybe if you're doing something new, you don't have an intuition a lot of times on it. And so you're just like, I don't know what to do, right? But the more you do it, the more practice you get in, the more reps you get in, you're gonna develop an intuition for it, because your subconscious mind recognizes things that you don't. And it could even recognize things from other parts of your life that are similar. So really, when you think you're relying so hard on other people, focus on inside. Focus on your intuition and what that's saying to you. Okay, number 8, what to do when you suck at talking to people. I felt like I sucked at interviewing people. And so what I learned was that I can ask questions. You can ask follow-up questions. If something's not making sense, ask questions. It's possible they just didn't describe it well, or they have different experiences than you. So you don't have to be doing an interview, but this could just be in everyday life when you meet new people. Assume you didn't have all the information. They didn't give it to you, so ask questions. Really? People like questions. It really helps them to feel like you are interested in them. So if you don't understand, ask questions. Like the embarrassment factor, take it off the table. People like questions, and they want to know that you're interested, that you're engaged. So don't be afraid to ask that. And then also sometimes you realize like, oh, this isn't so bad. I came to find out that asking the same question over and over was kind of a tactic. I asked it once, but I was going to ask it a second time to see if they gave me the same answer. I don't know that you need to do that with just friends or new people that you meet. You don't have to necessarily ask them the same question. If you want to, okay, or ask it a different way, but don't feel stupid for having to re-ask a question or to say, I didn't quite understand that. Can you say it a different way? Ask for clarification. Curiosity is like amazing. And it can take away so much of our anxiety and our nerves if we're just a little bit more curious. So lean into it. Lean into talking to people. Lean into asking the questions and just being as curious as you can be. Here's the thing. I can almost guarantee you are being too hard on yourself. In so many different areas of our lives, we just get in this habit of being hard on ourselves or talking to ourselves in a certain way. Give yourself some grace. Just because you didn't talk the perfect way, or you didn't eat the perfect meal, or you made a mistake, that doesn't make you a bad person. It doesn't mean you should feel shame. It doesn't mean you should be talked down to because you made a mistake. No, you're human. We all make mistakes. We all do things. So how can you do it and take it with a grain of salt and move on? If somebody else, like if your boss or somebody talked to you or said something about a mistake you made, but they really didn't seem to harp on it, or they didn't seem to care about it too much, why are you still dwelling on it? Why? And then sometimes you might have a jerk boss and they might dwell on even the tiniest of things. So you can just move along or find a new boss, right? But we're sweating the small things, the things that really are tiny mistakes. And so if we keep pushing and like focusing on the tiny mistakes, they blow up. They seem like they're so much bigger. I don't know why. I just envision like a cloud of smoke just blowing up. But those little tiny mistakes can be a big bad thing if we let them be. But if we just shine a little light on them, then they get better. Then it's like, oh, that's really not that big a deal. Just perspective switch, right? So it can be like the monster under the bed. Like it's scary when we think there's a monster under the bed and we really won't look. That's why we'd have to go get our parents to look because we were too scared to look. But if really we just look and kind of shine a flashlight under the bed, then we realize, oh, it's really not that scary. It's not that bad. And that's a lot of the things we're beating ourselves up over. They're not that scary. They're not that bad. We just have to, one, recognize what we're doing, and then two, look for other possible options. If that's not true, what could be true? If you're not a total failure, what could be another truth, right? So we have to look for these different truths, or what's a different option? Maybe I made a mistake and didn't do good talking on the radio, but maybe I appreciate it more now because I've gotten so many reps in. So just look for those tiny perspective switches, or if the opposite was true, where would there be evidence of that? That's a good question to ask you. When you're saying something negative or something bad about yourself, then be like, if the opposite were true, what is any possible evidence of that? And write that down. Okay, this week, give yourself some grace. We all could give ourselves a bit more grace, and it's not easy. It's not easy to be in the arena fighting for the life that you want. It's not. So the fact that you are still here, you are still going after it, even though it is hard, means that you're a total badass. So keep doing the work. With that, we'll end the show. To all the badass women out there staying in the arena, wherever you are, whatever you're doing, own it and get after it.
Now that you've listened to this episode of Ordinary to Badass, we want to hear from you. Go to our website, ordinarytobadass.com/podcast, and submit your own experience on how you took your life from ordinary to badass, and get the chance to be on a future Spotlight episode of the show. That's ordinarytobadass.com/podcast. While you're waiting for the next episode of the show, wipe off the sweat, dust off the dirt, and get back in the arena.